Hey everybody, welcome to another Money Reviews. Have you ever wondered what a long night of drinking and poor decisions culminated in with a Baofeng UV5R and a TRI-152? Well, here it is. It's a Baofeng AR152. So this is Baofeng's tactical radio. I don't know what that means, but what I can tell you what this radio is it is honestly Baofeng's attempt to get into the MILSIM market, in my humble opinion. It's their attempt to fist fuck a Baofeng UV5R into a Harris and create this abomination that you see before us. So when you get this guy here, it's going to come broke down like a shotgun, like this. You're going to have your battery. You're going to have your radio body. It's going to be inside this box. You're going to have this power cord. You're going to have this antenna and this manual that's going to explain everything you need to know about it. This is your Bible. And it'll probably not tell you everything you honestly need to know, because that's usually the way it goes. Very simple packaging. Very humble. Not too crazy. And fantastically enough, we now have a radio specifically for celebration. Awesome. Anyway, like I said, it comes broken down. One thing, I saw another guy did a really fantastic review on this. He's a real big deal ham dude. He's got all this fancy doodads, science equipment, and he can get all sorts of readings and blips and blops off this thing, and I cannot do. And he did point out it's got an FCC sticker, which is fantastic and kind of important apparently. And I think that's cool, I guess. He's smarter than me, so I'm going to take his word for it. This is supposedly a 10-watt radio. That's exactly what it's advertised as. He couldn't get 10 watts out of it. Fully charged battery, he got, I think, up to almost 9 on high power. Take that for what it is. I'm going to put out there that I don't believe this is a full 10-watt radio, going by his very scientific video. I'll link his video below on his channel. It was really good. I got a lot out of it. This is going to be a less scientific review, but a review nonetheless. That is his, this is mine. Here we go. Battery is very reminiscent of UV5R extended battery. Big skinny piece here, big fat piece on the bottom. Plug it all together, and you get your radio. Radio shape, reminiscent of a 152. Kind of not terribly smaller than a 152, so like I showed you at the beginning of the video, I've got a TCI, a replica 152 right here. That's a 1-to-1 scale 152 radio, set up just like a real Harris radio. I've got the AR152 next to it. As you can tell, it's only about an inch shorter. It's about 1/4 of an inch in width difference. Back to back, not terribly different in size. Button configuration is quite similar. Big difference is going to be the top. The knob, on and off knob, is where the mic port would be on a real 152. This is where the on-off knob is on a 152. Antenna ports are in the same location. It's got the little emergency light, and then it's got an emergency call on the top. This is just like a real one UV5R. This is not in the same spot as the UV5R. You've got a little lanyard loop up top for whatever reason. I guess you could put the little lanyards on there. I don't know why you would, but you could. And then it's got the same little side hand ridges like on a 152 right there. Let's get this out of here. We don't need that anymore. Oh, wait. Actually, we do. Hold on. 152's got a much smaller window. This one's got a very big square window. A lot of people seem to really like that. And then it's got a similar patterning to the speaker. Now we got a UV5R. This is a standard Baofeng, much smaller than this guy. This guy will fit into a standard radio pouch a lot easier than this will. So I'm going to bring a radio pouch up here. This is a Faro Concepts Wingman. It will hold a UV5R just fine, especially with the armor. If I can get it to go in there. Yeah, it goes in there just fine. Pretty cool. You're good to go if you use this as your MILSIM radio. But it will hold this way better. So if you are a MILSIM nerd, I just turned that on by accident. We're going to touch on that in a minute. Like I am. I love me some MILSIM. This radio is great because it does fit in these pouches a lot better. So that's kind of like the selling point of these radios versus these radios is, it's like, hey nerds, it's got to fit your pouch better. So that is kind of cool. Now, get that out of here. Big change they made is here. Mic port. So the mic port opens up sideways on the UV5R. On this guy, it opens up down. And it doesn't really go all the way down. It goes kind of almost to a 45, and that's it. I think that's a weak point. I think that's going to be an issue coming down the line. That's just my 2 cents. Still utilizes the same Kenwood 2-prong jack. So this is standard Baofeng push-to-talk. This is a cheap Amazon, what the fuck was this? U94. It's got the Kenwood 2-prong here. Works just fine with Baofengs. I've got a Great Plains Creations push-to-talk armor on there. A little card will pop up to the link for that review if you're curious. Pretty cool little product. But these things are awesome. Clips in just fine here. Clips in absolutely fantastically to this guy. But see what I mean when you put it in? It still kind of kicks this door outward. And that's a snag hazard in my opinion. Once you get it in something, that's going to bust. What I might end up doing is I might just put a little quick wrap of tape around it when I'm using it to keep that from being a snag issue over time. As you can see, I don't have the standard antenna in here right now. What I do have is a QD. This is a Baofeng compatible QD that I can put an antenna QD in. This is the antenna it does come with. So this is their quote-unquote tactical antenna, VHF UHF AR152 tactical antenna. You can kind of see it written there. It's set up to look like a Thales broadband. It's about 3 inches shorter than a Thales broadband. That's a real Thales right there. It will fit on a standard UV5R because it's the same thread pitch, same type of antenna as UV5R. And this is what it looks like on there. I've got whips for my UV5R that this will work with too. And then I'm also using the Catalina antenna, the cattail wearable antenna. That's what this was on there for. So I can just QD it in and I'm good to go. That's what's on my plate carrier. But that's with the antenna on. Not a bad little antenna, not a bad setup. Very reminiscent of a tactical radio and a 152 with that antenna in. But if you wanted to, you could take your standard Baofeng antenna and stick it on there. It's the same style. Or you could even go, if you're a madman, you could put your weird skinny Nagoya whips on there and look like a total weirdo. Because why would you want that thing? But they exist. You could. But these are just fine. I like the little QDs personally. That's kind of how I run mine with antenna relocation. Now let's talk about the battery. Again, real quick. Your charging port's down here at the bottom. It says it's a DC 9-volt input, but your charger is only got 8.4 output, 8.4 volt, 100 to 240 volt output. Doesn't even do 9 volts. Don't know why. Overall, let's talk about the feel of the radio real fast. It feels very plasticky. The UV5Rs, they feel like a nice polymer. They feel very robust. They're kind of got like a texture to them. This is this really slick, shiny plastic. Doesn't feel, it just feels like a toy comparatively. A great analogy, so this is, I talk a lot of airsoft shit, so I'll use an airsoft analogy. This feels like old 2004 Tokyo Marui plastic, like the Tokyo Marui FAMAS. This feels like classic Army glass fiber G36. World's different if you know the difference. Feels like a toy, feels more real, more quality. So that's kind of off-putting. Menu's great. I like the buttons. Big menu, reminiscent of this guy. Nice big menu. A little different setup than the UV5R, and I'm going to show you that right now. So you turn the UV5R on.
Channel mode.
Very similar. Let's get this guy here so we can hear it. Coming out of this AR152.
Frequency mode.
Same voice, same backlighting. So to go from channel mode to frequency mode on the UV5R, we've got this orange button.
Frequency mode.
You have to hold menu down.
Channel mode.
On this guy.
Frequency mode.
So you don't have this VFO MR button to do that. So that's a little difference on the menus. Other than that, it's more or less the same. And it is pretty much identical. It's got a lot of the same settings, a lot of the same inputs, outputs, etc. I think even my UV5R is a 10 watt, if I remember correctly. It's more or less just a really scaled up UV5R in a big plastic tactical body. I've heard people try to say and claim these are water resistant. I don't know how much I believe on that. Here's the other big upscale on these. Theoretically, You can leave these on for 5 days straight and they won't die. They take about 5 days to die. You can't get that kind of life out of this thing. So that is a big up for these guys. And I will give them the props where it's deserved. And I know I cannot do that with this guy at all. So there is one extra bonus. Now let's talk about another weak point. This knob here, very, very splashy, very easy to move. It's very just simple. I can bump it, boop, 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 and it kind of sits just high enough to where it's going to rub and move around. And nothing's going to be worse than bumping this around and getting this all the way up and then blowing your fucking eardrums out when you're moving around and talking to somebody. Or it'd just be like, holy hell. There is a guy on YouTube. He had posted up about a cover that goes over this, that he's got a file he's setting up. It's not out yet. When it does drop, I'm going to try to get one when it gets made, and then I'll do a review on it and see how well it is and if it actually fixes that. But his whole point is to cover this knob and stop that from getting bumped and activated, because that's just a common issue with these radios. Overall, I would say I think it's a pretty cool radio for my MILSIM nerds out there who want comms that are going to be more beneficial for the BB wars, with a radio that's going to fit better in your pouches, especially if you don't want to drop hundreds and hundreds of dollars on a TCA or a TRI 152. If you don't want to get all real comms pieces, real PTTs, real headsets, etc., because that's what you're going to need for this guy, you can get a similar sized radio, still use all your Baofeng parts, PTTs, headsets, etc., and have good comms. Have good range and decent comms with your team and with your friends and be fine. And have a radio that's going to fit in your pouches and take up a little more space than this guy, but give you that look that you're looking for from this guy. And I think that's kind of cool. Also, it kind of looks like some other radios that are not this guy. There's a few other radios out there that exist that are similar to this thing, but not this thing. And this kind of has a similar look to them. If you at first glance, if you're doing a kit that needs not a 152 and not a 148, but another radio, I can't remember the number, but it kind of has a similar look to it. So yeah, that's a plus. But the big plus is it's compatible with all your parts that you bought for this stupid thing, and now you can use it with this stupid thing, and that's a win. Hope you got something out of this review. I know a lot of other people have probably reviewed this, probably better than I did, but this is my take on it and my 2 cents, and I just hope you got a little bit of something. As always, appreciate you guys. Appreciate all of you for taking your time to join me in this channel on these reviews, looking at all this nerdy shit for our silly hobby. Until next time, get out there, LARP hard, be a bunch of dorks, and enjoy Airsoft, because God knows we need more people being silly nerds. YouTube thinks you're going to like the video in the left corner because it's the most recent. I think you're going to like the video in the right corner because it is pertinent to this subject. And if you really liked the content, most of my stuff is in the same vein. I just kind of do them like this. You might want to maybe bump the little helmet over here in the bottom right corner. That's the subscribe button. I would really enjoy your presence joining me on the road of tactical nerdness. Take care, guys. I'll see you in the next one.